and today we got to play Wild
Serengeti.
All right, so this game is a very fun theme. I can't wait to explore the Sahara. Randy, but before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit more about this game? So I think it's a recent release, right?
Yeah, it's just Kickstarter just came in like a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. It is a 1 to 4 player game. Board Game Geek rating is currently 7.8 and has a Board Game Geek rank currently of 6,654. Age 14 and up. Designed by Gun Ho Kim, art Hani Chang and Sophia Kang, published by Bad Comet. Now, the Kickstarter was $52 for most of everything you see here. There was a small box of wooden upgrades that was $14 more, which includes all the meat and the coins and the...
Well worth the $14.
But in general, you get a lot for $52 with all the wooden meeples that are screen printed for the animals.
So let's talk about quality of components. So since you kind of dived in there. All right. So obviously this one, I think this one's a Kickstarter exclusive, you said, because it is the first player marker. It is beautiful. It even has painted little birds actually on the tree. I thought that was really cool.
The standard is a cardboard insert, which is still pretty nice. It's actually bigger than the tree.
Yeah. But then all of your animals are screen printed. They look really awesome. You have this wonderful cardboard creation about the rock to basically, it's just your round marker, really. And then you have 2 different boards, one to actually place and one to kind of hold all the
both
all
have
the
a
stuff.
linen finish on them.
Yeah, cards are really nice quality, a really good linen finish, really good thickness. Overall, quality of components, I'm really, really happy with this.
Mm-hmm. There's also a screen printed bag. I'm assuming this must be to store your pieces in because you don't really hide anything in the game, so it's you don't have to draw anything out of a bag.
So with that being said, a 9.5.
Yeah, I mean it's really close to a 10. If it's not a 10, I mean that's
where I'm like, is it quite 10? Maybe not. Not 9.5.
I mean, yeah, it's excellent everything in it, and I honestly can't think of anything to fault it for on the quality. I mean,
I know that was my problem. Like I can't say there's a reason why it's not a 10.
I guess I'm going to go with a 10 on this.
Okay.
It's not the same 10 as Wonderland's War.
There's no but everything's good. I think that's why it's a 9.5. There's no awe factor, the only thing, it's really nice.
The only thing I don't like is that you have to disassemble and reassemble the
cardboard or
Pride Rock or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's definitely very reminiscent of the Lion King.
Maybe just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of want to have Rafiki holding Simba over the rock. But yeah, it's definitely got that feel to it.
Which is okay. It's lovely.
I agree.
So like I said, overall quality pieces are fantastic. So let's move on to theme. I mean, I think theme is really spot on for this too. I mean, you're in a Sahara next to the river and you're trying to get animals that come. They end up migrating off, so you have to put more animals out. It's a lot of fun. I think it's super cute. I really enjoyed the theme. I loved all the gorgeous animals.
It's not the Sahara. This is not a desert. It's a Serengeti.
I meant the plains.
Yeah, it's the plains. The Sahara is a desert.
That's not what I meant. I meant safari.
Safari, yes.
That's the one.
But yes, you're actually filming a documentary in this.
Right. That is part of the theme, but I had just more fun placing animals and getting them to line up. And that's pretty much part of the gameplay is putting the animals in certain locations, in certain terrain types. And so that's kind of fun. All right, so what would your score on theme be? Yeah,
I mean, it's entrenched into the gameplay, and you're trying to set up your shots for your film that you're making, and it reminds me a little bit of like Pokemon Snap, which is the only Pokemon game I ever played and enjoyed.
I'm sorry, he's broken. It's
but okay. I liked it. I mean, you got the meat that you can lure your animals with. You got the visual effects tokens that you can use to basically avoid some of the criteria. So it's kind of like you're tossing your different toys and trinkets in Pokemon Snap. I mean, to me, this is like the board game version of that, which is cool. So yeah, thematically, I'm probably a 10 on that too.
I mean, I think 10's appropriate with the level of quality of pieces and really intrinsic into the gameplay.
Yeah,
I do think this one
every
deserves.
wooden piece is screen printed. That's what attracted. Well, not except for the player tokens, they're not, but they don't need to be.
They don't need.
They made custom cameras for your pieces. So
now, I overall this is spot on as far as theme is concerned. I agree, 10 on this one. All right, so moving on to the rule book. I don't think we had any real difficulty with this.
Well, it's a pretty simple game. I mean, the rule book is 16 pages.
It's simplistic to learn.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot to the game either. It's 16 pages. Only the first 12, I believe. No, first 13 pages are a base game. Then there's 1 page of advanced rules, and then the solo co-op for the last 2. But the gameplay, like a big chunk of the rules, is the assembly of putting everything out and where it belongs. And then
so setup is a little bit of a beast for this. It's not bad.
That nice pun there. It's like several beasts actually. But yeah, no, I mean the gameplay. It's not bad to set up because you're just getting out specific animals and lining them up on the main board and you're putting the cards out. But it's not that bad. It's pretty simple. And then the actual board is empty when you start the game. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. And the rules are very clear. It's very easy to understand and pick up. Now, the one thing I had to read a couple times because it just didn't make sense to me. And still, it's probably my least favorite part of the game. We'll get to in gameplay more. But the fact that you have to have all your cards face up. Still not sure how I feel about that one, but we'll get to that in the gameplay. But I read it and it was like, really?
We'll talk about this.
But yeah, as far as the rules, it's clear. I mean, it's a good book.
All right, so let's give it a score.
It's got a lot of imagery. I'll give it probably a 9. It's really good.
All right, so now let's actually talk about gameplay. So at the beginning of the round, you actually get 4 cards, these cards here, and they're basically requirements, and then you'll get the benefits that are down here in this white box, unless this thing's red, and that's an income kind of thing. So with that, but there's a couple of different cards you have. You have adjacency cards, so you have like this, in this particular card, the elephant has to be touching a coyote, an alligator, and a zebra within the 8 spaces. Like, so if my zebra is here, so surrounding it has to be these things. Now, there are other ones where it's just like, okay, throughout the whole entire board, these items have to be in certain terrains. You have others that have to be in straight lines, and so there's a little bit of that trying to configure your animals into the right location to be able to take their shot.
And they'll have criteria requiring them to be on specific terrains on the lines, too. And the harder they are, the more valuable in general.
Yeah, obviously. And so basically, I get to take an action. Now, basically, I could, most of the time at the very beginning, you're buying animals, but then you'll move to swapping animals and things like that. Yeah, so you can buy the different animals, each set of animals, like there's migration herbivores, there are like your predators in one section, so they're all segregated out.
Yeah, I mean, technically, thematically, you're not really buying the animals. You're paying for the experience of going out into the wild and finding the animal into the wild. You're not... Because it would kind of be a fake documentary if you were purchasing the animals and then putting them into the scene.
Well, as far as the game is related to, yes.
So we would be basically making a Disney documentary at that point.
Yeah, so basically I'll put it over here at this one spot.
No lemmings were thrown off cliffs in this game.
So anyway, I place it down on the section I want. Like I said, you can swap animals, you can move animals, or you can purchase them or place them on the board, if you will. All right, so I go to that location. Everyone takes their turn. Now I take the same worker and move it to another location. I have to move my worker, and when I so do, I spend the money. So this keeps happening. Everyone takes their turn, and eventually you run out of money and therefore have to pass. Okay?
Or you can opt to pass.
Or you can opt to pass beforehand. Like I saved a coin once, and I think you've saved a coin a couple of times throughout the game. And that's fine too, because maybe you don't have something right that's good happening. You can also buy more of these cards, objectives, if you will. But now I will say, once an objective is completed, it doesn't take you an action to complete that objective. You just automatically, that is a free action. There's a couple of the free actions, like you can use your magic tokens for free. You can use your meat, which Randy mentioned can lure the animals to different locations just by 1 per 1 meat. And so there is a bit of set collection. So if you look at your objectives, right, there is the red with the red backgrounds, meaning it's income at every round. There's a total of 6 rounds, so that can be very helpful, benefit on. But there is another set collection. So like this one has leaves on here. There are some that will say, oh, how many ever leaves you have times 3 or whatever the case may be. And those can end up adding up. So you may look at objectives that just have more leaves on them so you can start doing some work there. There's also like diamonds, which are really hard ones. There are heart collection. Now the heart collection is a little bit different in the fact those hearts directly relate to end of game victory points at the end of the game.
The vegetation ones were kind of interesting because there were 3 different types of vegetation, but it was really collecting as many of one type as you could. But you could trigger, you had to get a card to get points off of them. And they had a lot of cards that gave you points, but a lot of them were like divided by 3. And it's like, you have to get a lot of cards for that to add up to being points. But then there were some in there that were +2 times your number of the icon +2 or +3. And those paid out really big.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. Oh, and then the other thing we've got to call out, in 2 different rounds of the game, they have specific round tokens, if you will. In this particular game, the first one was how many ever hyenas plus paws. The second one was how many ever vulture cards you played. So any cards that you had that played vultures.
The paws are basically wild. They count automatically towards any of those 2 bonus tiles. And there's a set of those bonus tiles, presumably for every animal. So it's kind of a random draw at the beginning of the game, which 2 you're going to get. Right.
So there's something to be said. Now, so you mentioned, so it seems fairly simple putting straightforward. You're putting animals or you're moving animals or whatever. But having the different objectives, other people are on the same board as you. So they can move things around, swap things when it's not good for you. Was thinking several not nice things about certain people when they move my stuff around that I needed to complete my objective. Now, the one thing that you were kind of complaining about is that they are face up. But I think we don't play it this way. We don't do that kind of attack nature. But I think this game could get actually pretty nasty if everyone played everyone else's boards, trying to achieve things.
It could become a kind of a push and shove game where, I move this animal to this space, and then on your turn, you moved it back to that space, and we just keep going back and forth because you can see the other player's cards and what they're going for. And particularly if you get into an early lead in this game, you could potentially just keep doing that, sacrifice and sabotage the other player.
But that's just it. You're going to go against 2 against 1, and then if you're focused on 1,
I agree,
that other person's not going to. Then you're not going to get any victory points.
It was basically a 2-person game, even though we had a third person because he was so far behind.
Right. Well, but I don't think that logic is valid, and we didn't experience that. I don't think we would, but I do see that if you wanted to get this game very attacky, you could. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like if all you did was attack, you wouldn't get victory points. You would end up losing the game. So, but I think a strategic, I've got to pull a zebra. I want to swap with a zebra. Well, this zebra messes you up, but it gains me, and I could see a lot of that. And and I'm actually fine with that. So I didn't mind them being faced up. I had no issues. But I could see where that could become.
Yeah, I felt like that I would have preferred it if the cards were hidden. I don't know why that was a mandated rule.
Well, that's because you're working, it has some player interaction. It allows some player interaction.
Well, yeah, you'd have player interaction either way. You just wouldn't know, what they were going for.
I understand that you're upset about it. I'm not.
I'm not upset about it. I just found it to be kind of a strange choice. I would have thought hiding those cards would have been a better approach because I just feel like it could turn into and devolve into move this and then move it back. And move this.
I just don't think that would be an effective game strategy overall, especially if there's more than 2 players. But overall, let's talk about what we would rate this game. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was great. Is it crunchy? There's enough depth to it, but I don't think it's like hardcore crunchy. I'm actually probably going to give this a 7.75. I don't think it's quite an 8 level, but I think it's a pretty good game.
Yeah. Well, I think if you've got kids or you want, something that is someone who is into animals, heavily, this is definitely going to catch the eyes. But we've already talked about it on theme. We've given it
I liked the game.
Just thinking about the gameplay, I think it's more of a 7. I don't feel like it's that strong of a gameplay. I mean, there's not that much to it.
No, but I had a lot of fun. I do think there's some strategy with your set collection and, do I get income or do I get victory points, and working through that. I mean, there's a lot there, and I think we just kind of scratched the surface with this, especially trying to play. I do think there's a little bit of opportunity to play on other people's boards that we didn't really experience. And I'm not saying go, hog wild against people, but trying to synchronize not just what you're doing, but what they're doing. Like if you draft, like I only drafted based on what I had, but maybe I should have drafted on based on what you guys had. Oh, they're already going to do most of this work. I'm going to take that card. So all I have to do is move a piece to make that happen. Right. So I do think there's a lot of depth that could be in this game. So and I still had a lot of fun. I mean, we're not that far off. But
7's a good score. I mean, it's not 7 to 7.75 or whatever is not that big of a difference.
I don't know. You seemed a little more negative about it. Anyway,
it's not to me that strong of a game. And particularly, I think it's more strategic if you don't see what the other people are trying to work for.
I mean, I think it opens up some player interaction, like I said. But overall, that's where we're at.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.